All right, we might get started. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for your time today. Today, I'm joined by Amanda Locke, Executive General Manager for Children's Programs in Kingswim. And
hi, Carolyn.
Hi, how are you? And hopefully Nathan Costin's going to join us in a few minutes as General Manager of Marketing, Sales, Communications and Operations. We'll be providing an update on our restart progress, what our latest government announcements mean for the Y, and the insights we have gained from our customer research. As usual, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A function and we'll answer as many as possible. So to begin, I'd like to remind everybody that we are all required to complete the COVID safe training, which was emailed to your personal and YMCA email last week. Please make it a priority if you haven't done it already. You can't return to work until you've completed the training and sent the certificate to your manager to be logged into INX. Please note that you can send your certificate to your centre or site manager rather than your line manager if you're unsure if your line manager is currently working. Yesterday afternoon, I met with our council partner CEOs to discuss our recommendations for reopening recreation facilities and the financial modelling that we are providing them to inform their decisions. I spoke about the success we've already had and experienced at pools that we've reopened and obviously our gym in South Australia. The online bookings have worked really well with a big demand for lap lanes, and feedback from our customers is that the safety and hygiene practices we've implemented have been second to none, incredibly professional. We've now welcomed lap swimming back to South Australia Aquatic Centre, South Gippsland Splash, Brunswick Baths, Northcote, Kensington, and obviously, as I've just mentioned, South have also reopened for gym users. We're also running some recreation-based school holiday programs through Boroondara, Druin, McLeod, Horsham and Darebin, which is really exciting. We'll of course still have to a lot of work to do as things are working just so rapidly. A slide's just about to come up that shows the current status across the states according to each of the government's websites. As you can see, New South Wales and Queensland are a little ahead of Victoria in relaxing restrictions, with limits of 100 people allowed in enclosed spaces from tomorrow in New South Wales and from the 10th of July in Queensland. We anticipate another update from the Victorian government next week, where we expect restrictions to be further relaxed ahead of the 22nd of June milestone. One of the exciting announcements that's come through this week was from the Department of Health and Human Services in Victoria, who provided an update on physical distancing during swimming lessons. I'll now hand over to Amanda, who'll talk us through this announcement.
Thanks, Carolyn. Yes, the Victorian DHHS has confirmed that swimming teachers can be in physical contact with children as required for the teaching of swimming. This is a result of the advocacy we undertook with other industry bodies for swimming lessons. So it's really exciting that we have been heard and that our children and families have also been heard. It also demonstrates the government's understanding of the importance of swimming lessons for children. As Carolyn explained, we are still restricted to the 20-person maximum per enclosed pool space and 3 people per lane for lap swimming, as well as change rooms remaining closed. This means we are still limited in our reopening plans, but it is a promising step forward. There have been some exciting developments in both Queensland and New South Wales too. In both of these states, for children, social distancing is no longer mandatory in the water, so swimming teachers can teach their lessons safely. In New South Wales, from the 13th of June, tomorrow, a limit of 100 people in indoor facilities will come into effect. In Queensland, from the 10th of July, gatherings of up to 100 will be permitted in indoor facilities. And with an approved COVID-safe aquatic industry plan, we are able to program to the venue capacity. Once the government have clarified our questions on these restrictions, we will be providing more information to the relevant staff on Monday. This is an exciting development and it's great to see restrictions continuing to ease, as it means we are getting closer to resuming more services. While on the topic of swimming and aquatics, the National Aquatic Industry Safety Committee met yesterday to discuss the grace period currently in place for aquatic qualifications until the 1st of July. And the committee have decided that there will be no further extension of the grace period. The qualifications covered by the grace period are swim teachers, pool lifeguards, and aquatic program instructors. So if this is you, please ensure your qualifications are up to date before the 1st of July so that you can return to work. I have an update on the Early Childhood Education and Care Relief Package announcement. Many of you will have heard the federal government's announcement over the weekend regarding the extension of the Early Childhood Education and Care Relief Package to the 12th of July. From the 13th of July, we will still be receiving a reduced subsidy package called a transition payment, and families will resume paying the daily fee. Our families have been notified how the changes impact them and that they will need to update their details in order to receive the CCS subsidy from Monday the 13th of July. As we return to normal operations, children's program staff will be paid as normal and the JobKeeper subsidy will no longer apply from Monday the 20th of July. The news regarding JobKeeper was unexpected, but please be assured that children's program staff are still essential to our business. We view this announcement as a sign that the sector has rebounded and is continuing to recover. Our children's programs have provided an invaluable and essential service to the community throughout the COVID-19 crisis. And so while JobKeeper for this sector may be ending, we anticipate we still have a strong demand for our services and therefore the staff resourcing required for children's programs. The demand for our services are starting to return to normal, with numbers for our upcoming school holiday programs looking really positive. As well, we also have some strong attendances in our early learning centres. I do understand this announcement needs further clarification for children's program staff. An email was sent this week to all CP staff with a link to submit questions. I, along with Lucy Stabb and Michael Ford, will be hosting a webinar for children's program staff next Tuesday at 7 p.m. to provide a further update on what these changes mean for our staff and to answer your questions. I encourage all children's program staff to watch the webinar. However, if you are unable to make it, we will be recording it and sending it to you in a follow-up email. I want to thank all of our children's program staff for your hard work during this difficult period and also for your support as we now work through the new government announcements. I'll now hand back, I think, to Carolyn, who will provide a customer and safety update. Thanks, Carolyn.
Thanks, Amanda, and hi everybody again. Before I talk about how we're implementing our safety practices operationally at our sites, I'd like to share some of our customer insights we've gained throughout our research with our recreation customers. The research undertaken is already helping inform plans for reopening and how we communicate to customers to assure them we understand their concerns and are already addressing them. As we reopen facilities, there are some key concerns and queries that our customers have, and these include the structure of fees and payments. With reduced or restricted access and availability, customers expect this to be reflected in the costs. Increased cleaning and hygiene practices, especially in relation to equipment and surfaces, and they want to see clear evidence of social distancing practices, not just being put in place, but also actively monitored and enforced. The research also has told us there are 3 critical elements which are important to them. And these are, the first and foremost is achievement. You know, people are creatures of habit. If they aren't able to come in and resume their particular routines and objectives, then potentially they prefer to wait until they can. Customers and comfort for customers. They want to be able to use the facilities and make their experience easier. They want to, while they understand while showers and change rooms are unavailable, while restrictions are still in place, this may be a barrier for them to return for a number of reasons, including religious, cultural, and privacy. And enjoyment. While safety is critical, customers want to be able to enjoy being back at centres and connected with the community. In particular, this has been highlighted by parents who miss seeing the joy of children getting out and participating in our programs. Based on the current data, respondents indicate a high likelihood of attending providers when we get out of lockdown, and they may want to return within a month after we reopen. However, two in three are not willing to pay extra when they return and expect the providers to cover the cost. There's also interest for a pay-as-you-go service, which has the potential to draw in more customers. It's great to know our customers are looking forward to returning, but they have made it really clear that they expect us, the staff, to maintain safety and hygiene measures to a really high standard. At the Y, we take safety really seriously, with customers telling us this is something they value, especially right now. We're confident in rising to this challenge, and we're already getting feedback from our customers telling us the professionalism in opening up our centres is second to none. By now, you should be familiar with our 6 COVID-safe commitments. These include, as you can see on the screen, temperature scanning, social distancing, signage and instruction, increased hygiene and cleaning, training for staff, and a process for confirmed cases. To give you an idea on how these commitments to health and safety are playing out in our centres operating today, this slide shows some photos, or the next slide shows some photos of some signage and changes to the layout of our gyms to meet the current government restrictions. We met with, as I talked about previously, we met with our council partners yesterday to present some of this information and inform them of our safety practices and how our customers are feeling, and to demonstrate that we are ready to open. However, we have to understand that ultimately our recreation assets are our council assets, and we have to respect their wishes. So to give you an idea of the demand for customers, our phone calls from customers who have gone back to centres has gone from 150 in one day to over 500 in one day, with many of our customers really keen to know when their facility will be back up and running to this new normal. So now it's time for some Q&A. So I'm going to take some Q&A for a little bit. We have 14. So, okay, the first one, which I think is really topical. Will last weekend's protest potentially delay opening of some YMCA centres? Look, this is a really difficult one. So, and I think this has really caused so many of us a moral dilemma, hasn't it? Although we, may want to protest, we equally want to make sure that we're being COVID safe when we're doing that. And we're putting some thought into how we might be able to assist you through potentially our virtual Y in that regard. So, but the protest did happen last week, and we know that in Victoria there was one confirmed case, although that person was wearing a mask, which was good. And wearing masks obviously is a sign of you protecting others if you are displaying any symptoms. So that was one good thing. So we do hope, and we'll know in about a week whether it does delay any of the openings. We do believe that the Victorian government are going to delay some of their announcements for the July, not their announcements, but they may delay by up to a week in terms of opening up a little bit more, in terms of just making sure that those protests did not affect us and our health outcomes in Victoria. Okay, so what will happen with change room showers in regards to swim lessons? Currently still closed. Yes, so yes, absolutely. Change rooms and showers are absolutely currently still closed. That is the directive of the government. Obviously, toilets are still open to patrons, and it is an expectation that customers will come ready to swim and or go to the gym when that is opened up in some of our centres on the 22nd of June. And as indeed are open at SALC. And look, customers, because we've been doing fly-throughs, lots of education, they are understanding that those change rooms aren't open. And it is why we're doing a pay for use as opposed to reopening any of our membership at this point. Because many of our customers are making the choice not to come. But as you've heard, many of our customers are making the choice to come. We know that in New Zealand, when they have opened up completely with their declaration now by Jacinta that they are COVID free. They are completely open. So we do hope that change rooms, etc., within a month or two will be completely open as well. This one's for Amanda, how will swim teachers be protected while teaching, especially with young kids being hard to control with sneezing, etc.?
Thanks, Carolyn. There's a couple of elements to this one, and that is before children even walk into the centre, we'll be providing strong guidelines to parents around when they should and should not bring children into our centres. Once they're in the centre, we'll be undertaking temperature checks. If they then pass through that stage, then we are revising our safe work procedures for our lessons to ensure as much as we can the safety for our teachers. And this would include things like perhaps once where we normally had a child facing the instructor, we would have the child facing the rest of the pool space. So our area managers and management teams are currently working through those safe work procedures to ensure that we are operating in as safe a manner as we possibly can.
Thanks, Amanda. You're going to be the highlight here. There's lots of KingSwim questions. Do KingSwim staff count as children program staff, or will they still receive JobKeeper? They will still receive JobKeeper.
They will still receive JobKeeper. We've had a couple of KingSwim staff helping out in our children's programs, but they'll be employed in their primary place of employment. So absolutely, our KingSwim staff will still be receiving JobKeeper.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. This only pertains to childcare educators that were originally childcare educators on the 30th of March. So, so in terms of not receiving JobKeeper post July the 20th, and we will clarify all this with our children's programs educators. We are receiving other funding, as Amanda spoke about. And of course, we are resuming our normal fees for customers. So we do expect that this is part of the recovery in children's programs, and we will be back up and running at a really fast rate. And again, I have been speaking to our New Zealand counterparts in the YMCA, and they are completely back up and running in terms of their children's programs and nearly back at the same level of occupancy as previously. So that's what we're hoping to enjoy over the course of the next 4 to 6 weeks. Another one for you, Amanda. Does this mean KingSwim in Victoria will be opening as of the 22nd of June?
So that's the clarification that we're all eagerly awaiting. So we're anticipating that the state government will make a further announcement next week. At the moment, we don't have that clarity. So once that announcement is made from the state government next week, we would be able to put our plans in place. Obviously, the timing is really critical. If we only receive, 2 or 3 days notice, opening on the 22nd may be a difficult task, but we're really keen to open as soon as we can. So if the conditions are favourable, we'll be opening as close to the 22nd as we can, but we'll wait and see what the announcement tells us next week.
All right. Many people are saying great stuff, so that's nice. Do we know which centres will be opening and when they will be opening? So what we are doing for everybody, if you go into the emergency website, we are, as we know which centres are opening, we're giving you that information as soon as possible. And as Amanda said, we're still working through, we're getting these announcements daily. The announcements around the swimming instructors being allowed in the water at the same time as children and not having to practice social distancing for Victoria only happened yesterday. So, and we are expecting some pretty major announcements either this Sunday or next Sunday from the Victorian government, which we are hoping will open up some of the amounts of people that are allowed in enclosed spaces as well. So we will be working through that, and we are preparing ready to open ahead of time as soon as possible. Any news on the camping sector? I will say, I think next week we'll have more news on the camping sector. I think as soon as the announcements that are going to happen over the next 2 weeks by the Victorian government, I think they're really going to help us being able to work through the camping sector. What I can say is we have been putting our camping online as part of the virtual Y. And we've got many camping people working on that as we speak. So we're really excited about not only having a physical presence in camping going into the future, but we're also going to have a virtual presence, which is just going to be terrific. This one says, sorry, missed previous childcare info. Can you advise on NARC creche? And if the room is COVID safe, as we have counter where we take bookings and payments separate to the front desk. Amanda.
I can jump in. At the moment, we're with regards to children's programs, we are obviously having to operate according to the requirements of government. And so with regards to creche services, those decisions are being made on a site-by-site basis, and we're liaising with our local government partners on the provision of additional services as and when they can open. So once we've confirmed those arrangements with our local government partners, we'll be able to communicate through our centre managers to our staff teams on what that looks like.
Oh, thanks, Amanda. I have quite a long question here, but I'll try to talk about it. But it's really about, how do we know, given that recreation and children's sectors live in the same entity, how will the ATO know which of our community programming staff work for which sector? Amanda.
Thanks, Carolyn. Look, that's a really excellent question. The new announcement on JobKeeper presents a whole lot of questions, and we're seeking advice ourselves from KPMG, who we used through the first round of JobKeeper announcements. So that's a question that we are seeking clarification on. Once we have that clarification, the first people that we'll notify are the affected staff. So it's an excellent question, and we'll aim to respond to that as soon as we can.
I think this is a bit of a tricky question, Amanda. How will CP JobKeeper announcement affect recreation-based childcare?
Yeah.
JobKeeper.
And that's similar to the response I've just provided. So we're still getting clarification on how that is to be interpreted. So if your primary place of work is in a recreation centre, we're seeking that clarification through our advisors, KPMG. So as I said, we'll aim to get back to you as soon as we can on that one.
Okay, fantastic. When are squads likely to start, given we can already work under the 20-person rule? Amanda.
Yeah, so at the moment, we still do have the 3-person per lane restriction in Victoria. And so that is somewhat limiting with our ability to provide full service. So the announcement next week from the state government is going to be important. We do anticipate that they will be making some announcements on aquatic environments. I know Lifesaving Victoria, LSV, have been advocating for the number of people per lane to be increased according to pool size. But as yet, we haven't had any confirmation from government.
Okay, we've got a couple of questions about cafes opening. I think what we'll do is next week we will have a little section on cafes, so note to self, so that we can give you that clarity. I think that is all going to be wrapped up in our broader announcements around recreation and what is opening and when. We're currently in discussions with all of our local councils around what their preferences is, how they'd like to open, what they would like to open. And of course, the announcements that are going to come from the Victorian government around whether on the 22nd of June, it's still going to remain at 20, or it might indeed move up to 50, like some of the other states have done. That will bear into what we can and can't open. Okay, are king swim teachers in New South Wales allowed in the water with the students, or is it just Victoria?
No, great news. Teachers are allowed in the water in New South Wales and in Queensland. So we do need to prepare an aquatic safe, COVID safe plan. And with that provision in place, we are able to run swim lessons with teachers in the water to support children. So we're working through the detail on that at the moment. We will have news for you very soon on what that looks like for King Swim in New South Wales and Queensland.
Okay, another King Swim question. You really are the woman of the moment. When we do go back to work in King Swim, our hours won't be the same as they were before. Will staff get a top up for JobKeeper until September?
So King Swim, yes, JobKeeper will apply through to the end of September. The government did make some adjustments in children's programs. So that's the best information we have at this point in time, but we have no reason to believe that that will change. So with that, we will be having to roster our staff in King Swim according to demand rosters, according to the number of children we have in our classes. So as you would expect, the number of staff we roster will be in direct correlation to the number of students we're able to bring back into the program.
Oh, thanks, Amanda. That's great. Helen said, thanks so much for keeping us all informed. Thank you, Helen. Much appreciated. Okay, final question, and it's for Amanda. I'm a King Swim teacher and my CPR has expired. And about 3 webinars ago, expired training was discussed. Will I be able to return to work? Is there a time frame as to how long after it expires before I have to get it updated?
My advice to you on that one is that you should try and update your CPR if you can. We do require all qualifications to be in place by the 1st of July. If you're having any problems with that arrangement, you should speak to your centre manager.
Thanks, Amanda. All right, we're about out of time, so thank you for all the questions. Again, we will have a look at the questions, and as we always do, try to answer them either on the emergency website or in the next webinar next week. So before we finish up though, a big shout out to the team behind Virtual Y. Virtual Y was launched this week to the public. So if you haven't, check it out and sure to have a look because it's absolutely amazing. We're very, very proud of it actually. And if you would like to get involved, the Youth Services team are putting the call out for staff and volunteers from across the Y to become video content creators for the platform's youth space. They're looking to build a wide range of fun and engaging video content for young people to engage with. So if you're interested in being a presenter, please visit the internal job opportunities page on the YMCA emergency website for more information. So thank you again for your time this morning, and thanks, Amanda. And too bad Nathan didn't quite make it, but we'll get him on next week. He's not going to get out of it that easy. I'll see you all next week for another update. Until then, take care and enjoy your weekend. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.